In the early 1600s, Europeans began to establish settlements along the eastern coast of North America. This land, rich in resources, would become the birthplace of a new nation, the United States of America. These first 13 colonies were Virginia, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. Life in the colonies was far from easy. Colonists faced harsh weather, disease, and conflicts with Native American tribes. Yet they persevered, driven by the dream of a better life and religious freedom. The colonies thrived on agriculture, timber, and trade with Europe. A strong sense of community and self-reliance began to take root. As the colonies grew, so did their differences with Great Britain. Distance and a growing sense of autonomy fostered a spirit of independence that would eventually lead to revolution. The seeds of rebellion had been sown. As tensions with Great Britain escalated, the colonists found their voices. Great orators like Patrick Henry and Samuel Adams articulated the grievances of the colonies. Pamphlets, such as Thomas Paine's Common Sense, circulated widely, advocating for independence. In 1774, representatives from 12 colonies met in Philadelphia for the First Continental Congress. This gathering marked a significant step towards unity and resistance. They drafted a list of grievances to King George III, hoping for reconciliation. However, the king remained obstinate, declaring the colonies in rebellion. The following year, in 1775, the first shots of the American Revolution were fired at Lexington and Concord in Massachusetts. The Second Continental Congress convened, this time with all 13 colonies present. They appointed George Washington as Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army. If you enjoyed this journey through history, please subscribe to our channel and like this video for more fascinating content. The American Revolutionary War was a grueling test of the colonists' resolve. The Continental Army, poorly equipped and lacking in experience, faced a formidable foe in the British Army. Yet the colonists had one crucial advantage: the spirit of a people fighting for their liberty. Victories at Saratoga and Trenton boosted morale and proved that the American forces could stand against the British Empire. The war dragged on for 8 long years. The Continental Army faced harsh winters, dwindling supplies, and moments of despair. Yet they persevered, aided by foreign allies like France. Finally, in 1783, the Treaty of Paris was signed, officially ending the Revolutionary War and recognizing the independence of the United States of America. The American experiment had begun. The newly independent United States faced the daunting task of governing itself. The Articles of Confederation proved too weak to effectively govern the fledgling nation. Recognizing the need for a stronger central government, delegates convened in Philadelphia in 1787 to revise the Articles. Instead, they drafted an entirely new document, the United States Constitution. The Constitution established a system of government based on separation of powers, checks and balances, and federalism. George Washington, unanimously elected as the first president, led the new nation through its formative years. The Bill of Rights, added in 1791, guaranteed fundamental rights and freedoms to all Americans. The United States embarked on its journey as a nation. The spirit of exploration and the allure of opportunity fueled westward expansion throughout the 19th century. The Louisiana Purchase in 1803 doubled the size of the young nation. Pioneers, driven by the belief in manifest destiny, streamed westward. They established farms, built towns, and sought their fortunes in the vast wilderness. However, westward expansion came at a cost. Native American tribes were displaced and their way of life threatened. Conflicts between settlers and Native Americans were frequent and often brutal. The Trail of Tears stands as a stark reminder of the human cost of expansion. As the nation expanded, so did the institution of slavery. The issue of slavery would continue to divide North and South, eventually leading to the Civil War. By the mid-19th century, the United States was deeply divided over the issue of slavery. The North, increasingly industrialized, opposed slavery on moral and economic grounds. The South, reliant on slave labor, fiercely defended the institution. The election of Abraham Lincoln as president in 1860 proved to be the tipping point. Southern states seceded from the Union, forming the Confederate States of America. The Civil War erupted in April 1861. when Confederate forces fired upon Fort Sumter in South Carolina. The war, the bloodiest in American history, pitted brother against brother. The Union ultimately prevailed, and slavery was abolished with the passage of the 13th Amendment in 1865. The long journey toward healing and reconciliation began. Following the Civil War, the United States experienced a period of rapid industrialization and economic growth. The nation's vast natural resources, expanding railroad network, and influx of immigrants fueled an industrial boom. Factories sprang up in cities, producing a wide range of goods. Steel, oil, and railroads became the backbone of the American economy. The Gilded Age was a time of both great wealth and stark poverty. Industrialists like Andrew Carnegie and John D. Rockefeller amassed vast fortunes, while many workers toiled long hours in dangerous conditions for meager wages. Social reformers worked to improve the lives of the working class. The Progressive Era sought to address the social and economic problems arising from rapid industrialization and urbanization. Reformers fought for workers' rights, women's suffrage, and government regulation of big business. The United States had transformed into an industrial powerhouse. The 20th century saw the United States emerge as a global power, drawn into 2 world wars and locked in a decades-long ideological struggle with the Soviet Union. World War I initially saw the United States remain neutral. However, German submarine attacks and the Zimmermann telegram drew the United States into the conflict in 1917. World War II erupted in 1939. The United States joined the Allied cause in 1941 following the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. The war effort mobilized the nation's industrial might and manpower, leading to Allied victory in 1945. The United States emerged from the war as a superpower. The Cold War, an ideological struggle between the United States and the Soviet Union, dominated the second half of the 20th century. The collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991 marked the end of the Cold War. While the United States had made strides towards equality, racial discrimination and segregation persisted. The civil rights movement of the 1950s and 60s sought to dismantle Jim Crow laws and achieve racial equality. African Americans rose up to demand justice and equality. Leaders like Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, and Rosa Parks inspired millions. Through nonviolent protests, sit-ins, and marches, they challenged segregation and discrimination. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965 marked significant victories. The struggle for civil rights continues to this day. The end of the Cold War ushered in a new era of globalization and technological advancement. The internet connected people around the world, transforming daily life. The United States faced new challenges and opportunities in this rapidly changing world. The terrorist attacks of September 11, 2001, shook the nation to its core. The attacks launched the United States into the war on terror. The wars in Afghanistan and Iraq had far-reaching consequences. The 21st century has witnessed growing political polarization, economic inequality, and social unrest. The United States faces a multitude of challenges, both at home and abroad. The story of the United States is one of resilience, innovation, and the enduring pursuit of a more perfect union. From its humble beginnings to its emergence as a global superpower, the United States has faced countless challenges. The American spirit, characterized by a belief in individual liberty and self-reliance, has guided the nation through its darkest hours. While the United States has often fallen short of its ideals, the pursuit of equality, justice, and opportunity for all remains a driving force. The American journey continues, shaped by the dreams and aspirations of those who came before and the unwavering belief in the power of possibility. Subscribe to our channel for more updates on America's ongoing journey and the stories that shape our future.